Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. Now we're gonna do a little bit of a book ranking video today, and I did this once last quarter. I did it in April after kind of the first couple months of the year where I ranked every single book that I had read so far this year by directly pitting books one-on-one against each other and then forming a full ranking list based on that. Now we're gonna do that again today, but we're doing this as a continuation, as a part 2 for the books that I have read in this quarter of the year. So yeah, last time we dropped off around mid-April. This time we're dropping off around mid-July, and we're gonna have some fun today with it. Now last time I remember I started getting just so flustered, so stressed out at trying to pit like my favorite books against each other, because I had read like the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. I had read Red Rising Arc 2. I read a lot of like Stormlight Archive books. I reread some favorites like The Poet Empress, and it was just almost impossible to pit my top reads of the year directly against each other and pick a winner. So we're gonna see what happens today and see if I'm able to hold my composure a little better today, or if we're gonna have another on-screen, on-camera breakdown. All that to say, for a little bit of a reading update, so far this year I have actually already read 93 books on this day. So yeah, I'm doing very well with my reading goal, have read 93 books so far, and so in this quarter we have 41 books to pit against each other. Let's just get straight into it, I guess. All right, here we go. Are you ready to get started? So again, same as last time, I'm using pubmeeple.com to generate these little comparisons, these little one-on-one duels with books against each other. And then after we go through all of these rankings, it will generate an entire ranking of worst to best books based on which books I chose to win each little pairing. I always just find it really interesting to pit books against each other, especially from different genres, because I think most of us have different rating systems for books in different genres. And so a 4.5 in one genre might actually not be as good or not rank as good as a book that was rated a 4-star from a different genre, just based on how that book resonated with me over time. It's always fun to reflect on these types of things. Also, I did mention last time we did this as well, but this is not going to be like full reviews of each book we're ranking, because this video would be literally 10 hours long if we did that. So we're just gonna rapid fire. I'm going to give a couple, just quick thoughts on each book as we encounter them. But if you do want to see more comprehensive reviews, you can check out all of my reading wrap-ups, my monthly reading wrap-ups that I've been posting over the past couple months. And yeah, you'll be able to find all of these books in those. Okay, let's actually get started now. We're going to try and do this a little bit quicker than we did last time. So our first pair up is Good Joy, Bad Joy by Mickey Brammer against Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinniman. Okay, there's gonna be a bunch of these Dungeon Crawler Carl books in this round. I think there's gonna be 3, probably books 2, 3, 4, and 5. No, 4 Dungeon Crawler books are probably gonna pop up today. Doomsday Scenario is number 2, and honestly, not my favorite dungeon crawler book. It just honestly felt like a little bit of a repeat of book number 1. It didn't really give me that much in terms of fresh material. And Good Joy, Bad Joy by Mickey Brammer, loved it so much. If you love reading about relationships between old people that have lived their entire lives with one another and just have this really, really close bond, but also this is just such a sweet, tender, but also hilarious read about an older woman who is kind of like branching out and living her life and feeling adventurous for the first time in her life. She's always been a rule follower, and all of a sudden she gets these impulses, this urge to act out, all inspired because her lifetime friend, who was always the wilder one in their friendship, has been diagnosed with cancer and only has a few months to live. This story was just so touching. So yeah, Good Joy, Bad Joy, first and foremost, gonna pick that one. Okay, we have Clockwork Princess against Dark Matter. This is a tough match because Clockwork Princess is the 3rd book in a trilogy, obviously, of the Infernal Devices. So at this point, like, you're so connected to these characters, so invested in this love triangle that this book, I don't know, just hits so hard because you love the characters so much at this point. And also this epilogue was in fact one of my favorite epilogues of all time as an epilogue hater. Dark Matter, on the other hand, though, has made me think so deeply about things and life and choices and like what we value in life and things we regret versus things we should just be happy about in life. And yeah, this book broke my brain in all of the best ways. I also have not actually talked to Dark Matter with you guys on this channel. I did read it off camera. It is our Patreon book club read for this month, so I will be doing like a full spoiler Patreon live about this book with the book club. But don't fret, Dark Matter will also be in the monthly wrap up for July at the end of this month if you want to hear more thoughts on that. This is a really tough decision. I might have to go with Dark Matter. Okay, The Last Contract of Isako versus Vicious. Oh no, okay, things are getting hard already. So Vicious is a reread. I am doing audio rereads currently of Vicious and Vengeful in preparation of Victorious coming out in September to finish the trilogy. So I'm just, yeah, doing audio rereads to refresh my brain because I read Vicious years ago. So I just needed some details. I wanted the details brought back to me. But The Last Contract of Isako was so good. These are like two of my favorite authors of all time, Fonda Lee versus V.E. Schwab. This is almost an impossible decision. Vicious, perfectly paced. But The Last Contract of Isako also honestly perfectly paced. I do feel like The Last Contract of Isako like left me wanting a little bit more at the end of it. I wanted a little bit more of a conclusion. Honestly, I would love if Fonda Lee expanded on this world and did a sequel or a prequel or anything. I just loved it so much. Vicious, I think, is just perfect. Like, I don't have anything to critique about Vicious, so I might have to pick Vicious, but that's making me really sad. Okay, we're ripping off the band-aid. I clicked it. Next up, Tempest versus Crescendo. So I did read Tempest by Victoria Aveyard as an arc. Crescendo, honestly, I didn't love. I had high hopes for it. It was supposed to be this story of like opera and ballet set in 1950s France, and the vibe of it was very good. I think the writing of the vibe was very well done, but our characters, I was expecting them to fall into this like toxic down spiral of obsession and lust and just messiness, but I feel like Crescendo didn't go past that. I wanted to go through the layers and the complexities of why our characters are obsessed, of why they're so jealous of one another, of why they're being seduced by these things, and we didn't get that. It just felt very surface level toxicity, obsession, and that's it. Tempest I found was really interesting. I loved the world. It felt very fully fleshed out. It's a pirate fantasy, which is just so much fun right off the bat. I do think that Tempest suffered with some pacing issues, and that could definitely be partially a result of Victoria planning on this book being a standalone and then last minute being divided into a duology. I just feel like some of the back and forth with the swapping timelines made both timelines drag on a little bit. So it wasn't a perfect read, but I did enjoy Tempest over Crescendo, so we're going with that. Starshipped by Cat Sebastian versus Picking Daisies on Sundays next. Oh, this one, both romance books. Picking Daisies on Sundays was very just normal, average romance for me. It didn't surprise me in any way, but it felt nice. You know, it was fun to read. It was predictable, but kind of comforting in that way, and very just floral themed, which I think was cute. Starshipped, on the other hand, I think did give me something new in a romance because our characters were going through so many things of their own with social anxiety, with our protagonist suffering with migraines and OCD, and I feel like the depiction of that was done quite well in this book. Also, a queer romance that did address certain things like queer baiting in our society and stuff like that. So I think just because of the complexities and some additional elements that were in Starshipped, I'm gonna pick Starshipped out of these two romances. All right, The Arcane Arts versus The Heart of Betrayal next. I'm gonna go with The Arcane Arts. This one's easy for me. This was a dark romance that really surprised me because I'm not a dark romance reader, but I enjoyed this one because it took a lot more of a literary approach to dark romance. We got a more psychological look on why these characters were so drawn to one another, and a lot of their kind of control over one another was also mirrored with the magic that they were studying in this romantasy. So I'm gonna pick The Arcane Arts. I'm just very average about the heart of, no, what is the series called? The Remnant Chronicles. I'm very just like average feelings about that series in particular. The Heart of Betrayal, that is the third book in the series, right? I think so. No, I'm so wrong. The Beauty of Darkness is the third. A good thing I looked behind me on my shelf to see what order I have them stacked on my shelf, and The Heart of Betrayal is the second book, but still, that doesn't really change things. I'm gonna choose the Arcane Arts for this matchup. Okay, The Kiss of Deception, there we go, book 1 versus One and Only by Maureen Gu. I just finished One and Only like last night. So this one's so fresh in my mind. I'm definitely gonna pick One and Only. It's a really, really cute magical realism romance that feels very rich with Korean culture and this like really, really lovely Korean family that I love, full of really, really strong female characters. I loved One and Only. These are actually both love triangle books, which is funny, but I think the love triangle was done a lot better in One and Only versus The Kiss of Deception. So there we go. Heart the Lover versus Wasp's Nest. Easy. Heart the Lover, definitely going with that one. Honestly, these two books kind of had a similar writing style in the sense that were a bit of a step back from the characters. It has that style of writing where you're not like completely in the characters' minds, but it almost feels more blunt and honest when you have that level of separation. But I do think Heart the Lover did this a lot better. Wasp's Nest was supposed to be this kind of toxic story with wealthy characters at a Cape Cod wedding. It was supposed to be very exciting and it just wasn't. So I'm going with Heart the Lover. Next up, The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu versus Mark of the Warrior by Fonda Lee. I'm going with Mark of the Warrior. This was the conclusion to the Breathmark duology by Fonda Lee. So much fun martial arts combat written in this one. I mean, this one was co-written with Shannon Lee, who, I forgot to put Shannon Lee in the list when I made this little comparison list. Anyways, Mark of the Warrior, such a fun duology, perfectly wrapped up. This one explored twins, and I found the twin dynamic in this with the push and pull with their relationship and also kind of with their magic, like tied into all of that was really, really interesting and well done. I'm gonna go with Mark of the Warrior. I did love The Kingdom of Back as well though. It's a retelling of Mozart's sister story where she was very overshadowed throughout her entire life. Although she was very, very skilled in music and composing as well, she was always just held back because of the times they lived in. And this was a wonderful historical fiction, but with a Narnia magical twist added on. So both really strong books, but Mark of the Warrior wins this one for me. Next up is Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook versus The Butcher's Masquerade. We've got a little bit of a dungeon crawler standoff here. Which one? Okay, Anarchist's Cookbook is number 3, right? I always get these titles mixed up. And then The Butcher's Masquerade is 5. These were honestly, I think books 3 and 5 are my favorite in the series. Book 3 just had a really, really fun world. We had trains, we had this puzzle going on. I think the level we were in was just really fun, and we also started opening up to deeper storylines with like quest things introduced, so that was fun. But The Butcher's Masquerade I think got a little bit more emotional. I mean, not a little bit more, a lot more emotional. And I think just the more that this series went on, the more deep we got into characters. There are sirens outside. I hope you don't hear them. Why are there so many sirens while I'm trying to film? Okay, sirens gone. The Butcher's Masquerade, yeah, I think just got way deeper into the characters with how they were interacting with other characters. Like the more we expanded our circle outside of our main characters and interacted with other people in this dungeon, I think just helped introduce our characters to more situations where they had to think about things, reflect on things. They had more people to care about and stuff now. So I do think The Butcher's Masquerade wins over the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. So there we have it. Good Joy, Bad Joy is back. Okay, Good Joy, Bad Joy versus No Matter What by Cara Bastone. Okay, so No Matter What, such a controversial romance read. I feel like people will either love this one or hate this one because it's fully miscommunication trope, but embraced in a way that I appreciated it because we actually went into depth with the miscommunication and why our characters were not communicating with one another and not understanding one another. It wasn't just thrown in as a last-minute plot device to create a third act conflict. It was the point of the story, and I respect Cara Bastone so much for that. This book was so frustrating to read, but in the end really hit me emotionally. I think it really impacted me in the way that it was done. So strong. I think for me, Good Joy, Bad Joy does have the edge, a little bit of the edge over that one. So I'm gonna pick Good joy, bad joy. Okay, no matter what stayed. Carl's Doomsday scenario popped up. I'm going no matter what with this one. Oh, some fun fantasies. Okay, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me versus The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. These two were both really, really fun. This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, such a fun concept. I know this is an entire subgenre of, you know, stories where our protagonist wakes up in a fantasy world that they love and then they have to navigate through that fantasy world and just try and survive. I know that's a whole subgenre of books. I haven't read a lot of books like this though, so for me, this was a pretty fun, refreshing new concept. This one was very info dumpy though, like lots of information to take in, so I don't know if it was like overall just pure fun for me to read because my brain had to work so hard to keep up with every single character and all of their histories and everything, where The Ballad of Falling Dragons is definitely a brain-on read as well because Sarah A. Parker likes to write very descriptively and you need to kind of settle into her writing style, but I love it. I love her descriptions. I love how she just like brings you into this world and everything just feels so immersive, mythical. We have dragons crystallizing into moons, which is actually my favorite thing in the entire world. I think The Ballad of Fallen Dragons definitely has the edge over this one. It's also the second book in a series, so at this point I do feel just way more attached to our characters versus This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, which was the first book. I'm choosing Ballad. We have Dark Matter back and another dungeon crawler book, so Gate of the Feral Gods is book 4. I'm going Dark Matter though, okay? I'm going Dark Matter. Clockwork Princess versus Gate of the Feral Gods. I'm going Clockwork Princess. Okay, book 4 of Dungeon Crawler Carl, Gate of the Feral Gods, honestly I think took a bit of a step down compared to book 3. I just wasn't as interested in this level and how to get past it. I think with the creativity we got in book 3, I was expecting us to like keep getting more and more and more creative, but I feel like I just didn't care about any of the specifics of this level in book 4. We definitely, like in the last 10% of the book, got interesting, back into the character stuff, back into the politics of it all, but 90% of book 4 was honestly a little boring for me to read, so I'm going Clockwork Princess with this one. Okay, To Dream in Darkness by Anne Liang versus Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. Okay, see, these books are so different. Like, how do you compare a mythological fantasy romance versus a rom-com? How do you do that? Impossible. I think I rated both of these books pretty similar. I think To Dream in Darkness, I gave a 4-star, and then Phoebe Berman, I think I gave maybe I gave Phoebe Berman a 4.25 or something pretty high. I really enjoyed it. Oh, Anne Liang writing is just so good. It's just so beautiful, but simple. Like beautiful, descriptive, but doesn't get in the way and is still so simple to read. Addressed some really interesting things with like the educational system sometimes limiting knowledge versus actually encouraging it. I found that to be a wonderful inclusion into Dream in Darkness, but then Phoebe Berman just surprised me so much as a rom-com. Like literally caught me off guard. I loved the imperfect characters. It felt so refreshing as a book in this genre. I also typed in Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lost It as the title of this book versus Lose It. Ah, this one's so hard. I'm gonna have to go Phoebe Berman. I think if I'm gonna compare the romance aspect of this book, I liked the romance in Phoebe Berman versus To Dream in Darkness, but the writing and, oh, Anne Liang writing is so beautiful. If this was A Song to Drown Rivers though, like you know A Song to Drown Rivers would win, like no question, but I'm gonna go Phoebe Berman. Vicious versus Beauty of Darkness. Vicious. Easy. Last Contract of Isako versus Beauty of Darkness. Lost Contract of Isako. Okay. The Young Will Remember by Eve J. Chung versus The Encore. Easy. Young Will Remember. Perfect book for me. Wonderful historical fiction, giving you a deeper look into the history of Korea and all of those tumultuous times with like Korea, Japan, China, with the states involved. Just historical fiction done right, where we get so deep into these characters on a human level. Where The Encore for me was a little bit more predictable. It's a story where we have a family that kind of come together for the first time and they have to go on tour, so it's like forced proximity but with family involved instead of just being a romance. But yeah, The Young Will Remember will win every single time. Tempest is back versus Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. So this was our Fable Book Club read this month, and I did read this one off camera as well. I actually really enjoyed it. I'm really hit and miss, I feel like, with Carly Fortune because I love the way she depicts Canadian summers. Me being a Canadian myself, me living in a Canadian summer right now, her books just give me this sense of nostalgia. I love the way she just describe settings. It just feels so familiar and comforting to me, but I do tend to have a problem with her plots and the fact that her plots tend to not really plot very hard. She writes tension in a romance very well. She writes moments, kind of like individual moments very well, but in terms of like a full sequence of a romance plot with development and all that going on, sometimes that can fall short for me. But I honestly really enjoyed Our Perfect Storm. There were some things about the third act that dragged on that weren't my favorite, but I do like a lot of the elements she put into this. This felt like a love letter to nature, to whales, which I actually loved. I've seen a lot of people say that they didn't love the connection to whales in the story and how whales and just preserving nature was such a big theme in this book. I guess if people are going into this book wanting just a pure romance, maybe the whales would seem like they stood in the way, but I loved it. I loved all of the talk about, yeah, preserving our nature and taking care of our world and saving the whales in this book. I actually might go with Our Perfect Storm for this one. So there we have it. Okay, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. We've got another Blake Crouch versus Yesteryear. I'm going Yesteryear with this one. It wasn't a perfect read for me. It honestly disappointed me in some ways because I was expecting this to give me a lot more commentary on the traditional trad wife lifestyle, and I wanted more of that past timeline and seeing our protagonist really face the lifestyle that she had been falsely advertising to the rest of the world, but we didn't get a lot of that. We got more of this thriller, like mystery vibe with the past timeline, and we did get a lot of good social commentary on like influencing and all of that. So that side of the story was good, and in the end I did enjoy Yesteryear. Not enjoy, because it wasn't enjoyable, but it was a good book, you know? Whereas Upgrade started off really strong, but I started to feel disconnected to it because our character, our protagonist, felt way too overpowered in Upgrade, where things just didn't feel too exciting, like as exciting as they should have been. So I'm gonna pick Yesteryear for this one. Starshipped is back versus the shippers this time. I'm gonna choose Starshipped. The shippers was just way too predictable, way too absurd for me this time around. I'm so sorry, Catherine Center. Okay, another romance standoff. I'm going Picking Daisies on Sundays against the shippers. Okay, 2 new books. This one's gonna be hard. What? Okay, Wind and Truth versus The Good Parts. How do you compare these two? Because Wind and Truth is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive, not including the novellas, so like technically the 7th if you do count the novellas. And it's such a chunker that you go on this really intense journey with these characters, and while Wind and Truth wasn't the perfect read for me, it still hit me so hard and impacted me so deeply because like these characters, like I've spent so many pages with them, I feel so close with them, and their journeys with their mental health and everything have been so strong along this entire series. Whereas The Good Parts by Evann Normandin is just such a wonderful standalone and a wonderful debut and perfectly well contained, but it's like I feel closer overall to the characters in Wind and Truth because it's a series. Okay, if we're gonna choose individual book, I'm gonna have to go with The Good Parts because Wind and Truth was a little bit overly long-winded for what it had to be. Like, yes, did it have to be long? Absolutely. But maybe instead of 1,300 pages, we could have capped it off at 1,000. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna go Good Parts for that one. The Arcane Arts versus Into the Blue. Immediately, Into the Blue. I still think about these characters. Such a painful story, but so good. Okay, The Burning Side versus The Jessed Crown. The Burning Side was perfection. I love you, Sarah Damoff. One and Only versus The Dark Mirror. Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna go Dark Mirror. I'm gonna go Dark Mirror. One and Only was so cute, but The Dark Mirror brought me back into the Bone Season series. I love this series so much. Again, because of The Dark Mirror. Perfectly paced, perfectly set up tensions between all these different political parties from all of these different countries. And it was like so just tense the entire way through, and you didn't know who you could trust. Yeah. The Dark Mirror. Heart the Lover versus The Sixth Faction. What? This is so hard. Okay, technically, I rated both of these a 4-star. Heart the Lover, I feel like was such a beautiful story with such like intense moments with our characters, where at the end of it, I was feeling emotional due to the situations we were in, but not because I felt so deeply for the characters. Where in The Sixth Faction, I feel like it's the opposite. Like I love these characters so much. They were part of a formative years of my like younger YA reading era. It's just so hard to judge this book without bias. But I think I might have to go with The Sixth Faction. I just love the Divergent world so much, okay? Veronica Roth's writing also improved so much with this. The world building, the deeper insights we got into the factions and the corruption that was happening in this world. Chef's kiss. Okay. Sixth faction. Mark of the Warrior versus The Hollow Gods by AJ Rana. I'm going Mark of the Warrior for sure. The Hollow Gods was just not my cup of tea. It was very dark romance-y in the way that I don't like dark romance. Very physical first, it felt like Fated Mates-ish, just to be Fated Mates, but with Fated Mate stories, I still need romantic development, you know? I can't just be told we have Fated Mates here and that's why they're drawn to each other and that's it. I need actual character and romance development between them. Yeah, we're going Mark of the Warrior. The Kingdom of Back versus the Hollow Gods. I'm going the Kingdom of Back. Good Joy, Bad Joy is back, and the Butcher's Masquerade is also back. I'm gonna go Good Joy, Bad Joy. Dungeon Crawler 5 it had its strong moments, but I also did choose to stop reading the series after the Butcher's Masquerade. So I loved Good Joy, Bad Joy. I'm gonna pick that. No matter what, yeah. I'll go No Matter What over the Butcher's Masquerade. Okay, over Dungeon Crawler 2 though, I'm picking Dungeon Crawler 5. Okay, we're having a full dungeon showdown. Dungeon Crawler 2 versus 3. I'm going 3. Dark Matter versus The Ballad of Falling Dragons. Oh no. Oh no. The Ballad of Fallen Dragons is so character driven and I love those characters, where Dark Matter just gave me a lot to think about. Oh, I'm gonna go Ballad. I love you, Sarah A. Parker. I'll choose Dark Matter over This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me though. I'll also choose Clockwork Princess over This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, but I will go with the Alona Andrews versus Dungeon Crawler 4. Yes. Vicious versus Phoebe Berman's Vicious. Yep. Last Contract. The Beauty of Darkness. I'm gonna go Phoebe Berman for sure. The Beauty of Darkness versus To Dream in Darkness. We've got a lot of darkness going on. I'm going Anne Liang for this one. The Beauty of Darkness was my favorite in the Remnant Chronicles. The series did get better as it went on, but To Dream in Darkness overall was better for me. And yeah, The Young Will Remember, it was a 5-star. Our Perfect Storm versus the Encore. I'm gonna go Our Perfect Storm. I'm also gonna choose The Tempest over the Encore, and I'm gonna choose the Encore over Crescendo. We're starting to rapid fire. We're at that point where I think we've talked about all of these books, so we're just gonna go quick, I think. Starshipped versus Yesteryear. I'm going Yesteryear. I'm going, ooh, this one's kind of tough. These were both, not perfect reads, kind of similar on my mental scale though. I might go Upgrade. Just because Blake Crouch writing is so addictive to me, I think I was just slightly more immersed in Upgrade. Oh my goodness. These were two painful books that did romance in such an interesting, ugly way, but in an ugly way that I love. Into the Blue was so ugly in the sense that our characters were so, they didn't talk to each other, but they did. They were trying to communicate to each other through improv and their acting, and it was so beautifully done, but they were both also holding back, hiding things from one another, but it was so painfully beautiful to read. And then the good parts, we had characters doing these really morally gray things to each other, but then we had this whole other part of the story where we were going into memory and deep diving into why someone would want to erase their memory, and then the effects they go through after they've erased their memory. Oh, these two were so good, both of them. I'm gonna go Into the Blue though, by a small sliver, okay? I'm going the good parts over the arcane arts. I'm going Wind and Truth over the arcane arts. Between the Dark Mirror and the Burning Side though, I'm going Burning Side. This was such an emotional read. Oh my goodness. Going Dark Mirror over the Jessid Crown. The Jessid Crown, I feel should have been 3 books on its own. It should have been an entire trilogy, and I feel because of that, the pacing of the book overall suffered for me because it was just way too much crammed into one book, too much plot, where I didn't have time to breathe with the characters and connect with them and get to know them. So Jessid Crown, lots of potential, but I'm going Dark Mirror. I'm going One and Only over it as well. I might go the Jessid Crown over the Kiss of Deception though, because the Kiss of Deception was just a little bit too silly for me. What were they doing? They were just hanging out to fight over the girl, and there was I wanted more fantasy plot in the Kiss of Deception. So I'm going Jessid Crown over that one. Mark of the Warrior versus the Sixth Faction. Again, I can't be normal about Divergent, so we're going Sixth Faction. I might choose Mark of the Warrior over Heart the Lover. Yeah, that's a close tie though, and I have no reasoning behind it. It's just a vibes thing in this moment, okay? The Kingdom of Back versus Heart the Lover. I read both of these in the same 24-hour readathon. I might go Heart the Lover. I think it just affected me a little bit more emotionally. Honestly, if we had a little bit less Narnia in the Kingdom of Back and more of the historical part of it, I might choose Kingdom of Back over Heart the Lover, but some of the Narnia bits just felt a little bit young for me. Read a little bit middle grade, so I'm gonna choose Heart the Lover. Definitely the Kingdom of Back over Wasp's Nest though, and oh, these two both didn't love either of these. I think I'm gonna go Wasp's Nest over the Hollow Gods though, because there were still some interesting moments in the Wasp's Nest. I think some of the banter, some of the little subtle moments with one another were interesting. So yeah, we'll go Wasp's Nest. This one's a little tough. Do we want like high stakes, painful fantasy over like a good, wholesome feeling emotional story? A hug versus pain is what this is asking me right now. I might go ballad. Yeah, I love that world. These are such different feeling books. I might go Dark Matter. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'll do Good Joy, Bad Joy over Clockwork Princess though, I think. And I'll go Clockwork Princess over No Matter What. I think I might have to do No Matter What over This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me though. Just because the things we were studying with the characters was more interesting. Like This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me had such an interesting plot, but these characters made me feel things. So we'll go with that. I'm going This Kingdom over Dungeon Crawler 5, but just by a sliver. I'm going Dungeon Crawler 5 over 4. Yeah, 5 wins. 3 wins over 4. 4 wins over 2 though, I think. Yeah, 4 wins over 2. Okay, The Young Will Remember versus Vicious. Oh no, these are so different. I mean, The Young Will Remember is just so emotional, but then Vicious is so fun. You know, it's like, do you want to read for an addictive, fun time where you do, like, I do feel for the characters in Vicious. I think V. Schwab does a really good job with her characters where you really feel like the things that they're struggling. Like in Vicious, they're kind of battling these inner demons of like, oh, I have these extraordinary powers now, but like, what does that give me? And then what does that also take away from me? Like there's always a balance. I feel like with V. Schwab and her characters that are powerful, they always lose something in exchange. And I find that to be so interesting, but The Young Will Remember was so good too. Oh, I might go Vicious just because I'm so attached. It's a series and I'm rereading it, you know? So I love it. Oh goodness. I'm gonna go Young Will Remember. I'm sad about it though. Okay, Isako over Our Perfect Storm though. Phoebe Berman over Our Perfect Storm. I'm gonna do Anne Liang over The Carly Fortune. I'm gonna do The Carly Fortune over The Mary E. Pearson. I'm just going by author names now. I'm not even saying the titles anymore. I'll go Tempest over The Beauty of Darkness though, but I will go Beauty of Darkness over the Encore. Should we try and rapid fire until the end? Into the Blue. Yes. The Good Parts. Yes. Win and Truth. Yes. The Arcane Arts. I'm actually gonna go Yesteryear for this one. The Arcane Arts over Upgrade. Yes. The Heart of Betrayal. I'll go Heart of Betrayal over Upgrade. The Burning Side will always win until it gets paired up to one of my other books that will always win. Oh goodness. What do we do with this? What do we do with this? I'm going The Dark Mirror. Okay. The Sixth Faction. Mark of the Warrior. One and Only. Heart the Lover. The Kingdom of Back, The Jessed Crown, The Kiss of Deception. Okay. Oh, I feel like every time Vicious has popped up so far in this ranking, I've just been like, it like freezes me in my tracks. We're going Vicious, okay? The Young Will Remember. These were both like almost perfect reads for me. Almost perfect. I'm gonna go Isako. I feel good about that actually. Ballad, Dark Matter, Good Joy, Bad Joy, Clockwork Princess, No Matter What. I might go Phoebe Berman for this one. Hot take, maybe. Yeah, we'll go Phoebe Berman. I'm also gonna go Anne Liang, but Alona Andrews wins over Carly Fortune. See, the thing is, I have such a grudge against the Dungeon Crawler books now, not because I hate them, but because I've spent so much time reading them and then decided to DNF the series, and now I'm like, all that time wasted. Even though I know it wasn't a waste, I still did enjoy lots of parts of the Dungeon Crawler series. I just feel a little bit bitter about it for some reason because I wanted to love it so much. So I'm gonna go Our Perfect Storm. This is getting personal. This has always been personal, let's be honest. Okay, we're going Tempest. We're going Butcher over The Beauty of Darkness, but we'll maybe go Beauty of Darkness over book 3 of Dungeon Crawler. We'll go Dungeon Crawler, Dungeon Anarchists over the Encore. We'll go the Encore over book 4. Gate of the Feral Gods, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. This is the point where I want to quit. This is the point where I'm just done and I want to rip my hair out. Okay, we're going to go with logic here because if we go with the heart is going to burst. The heart is going to combust and we're not going to know what to do. The burning side was perfect for me. Okay, perfect. Into the Blue made me feel really, really, really deeply and I still think about these characters, but the end of this book was a little bit too smut-filled for my liking, and that's why I ended up rating Into the Blue of 4.75 over a perfect 5. So because of that, logic says the burning side, but the heart doesn't know what it wants. Oh goodness, I'm gonna go Into the Blue. I need to center myself. I'm gonna go the good parts, but that hurts. Okay, I feel like The Dark Mirror on its own is a better book than Wind and Truth, but I feel like Wind and Truth, as you know, counting the entire Stormlight series, is better overall. But individual book, we're talking about individual books. I'm gonna go Dark Mirror, and I might go Sixth Faction. I'm gonna do Yesteryear. We're gonna do Mark of the Warrior, One and Only, Heart the Lover, The Arcane Arts. Wow, that surprised me, The Arcane Arts over The Kingdom of Back. See, sometimes when you do these like little pairings, you surprise yourself. Where are we going with this? I'm gonna go The Kingdom of Back. I'm gonna go Heart of Betrayal, Upgrade, Starshipped. I'm gonna go The Jessed Crown. I really didn't understand a lot of the motivations of our characters in picking daisies on Sundays and like why they were fake dating. Yeah, I'm gonna go Jessed Crown. These two were both similar in the sense that they were exactly what I expected them to be. Like The Kiss of Deception was very like silly love triangle, YA fantasy romance, and then Picking Daisies on Sundays was exactly what you'd expect for a second chance friends to lovers fake dating romance. I got a little bit more enjoyment out of Picking Daisies on Sundays though, so I'm gonna go with that. Kiss of Deception over the shippers though, and I think I'm gonna go Wasp's Nest over the shippers. The shippers over the Hollow Gods. We're getting to the end, guys. We're almost there. What do I pick out of the two of these? Emotions say the burning side, and I'm gonna follow my heart today. After I just said, let's think logically. Goodness. Vicious. The young will remember. I'm gonna have to turn the camera off and have a freak out. Okay, go quick, rip the band-aid off, Into the Blue. The good parts, maybe Isako. I'm gonna go Ballad. I'll go Dark Matter, Dark Mirror, Wind and Truth. That was probably a mistake. Sixth Faction, sure. Good Joy, Bad Joy, Clockwork Princess, No Matter What, Yesteryear. I'm gonna do Mark of the Warrior though. One and Only, I think. Heart the Lover, Phoebe Berman. To Dream in Darkness, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, Our Perfect Storm, Tempest, The Arcane Arts, Kingdom of Back, Butcher's Masquerade, Beauty of Darkness, Heart of Betrayal, Dungeon Anarchist, Upgrade, Starshipped, Jessed Crown, The Encore, Picking Daisies. I think book 4 of Dungeon Crawler might have been better than The Kiss of Deception. Kiss of Deception, Carl, Wasp's Nest, The Shippers, Crescendo. We actually did it. You know what? I think this one was slightly less painful than last time. Are you guys ready for the results? Let's go through them. So we're gonna go through them in batches until we get to the top 10 and we'll do like a suspenseful number 10 to 1, okay? So out of the 41 books that I read in this quarter of the year, in our bottom 10, let's go 41 to 31, okay? In 41st place, The Hollow Gods by AJ Vrana. Unfortunately, I didn't really like it. In 40th, Crescendo. 39th, The Shippers, which is disappointing because I love Catherine Center. 38, Wasp's Nest. 37, Carl number 2. 36, Kiss of Deception. Number 35, Carl number 4. 34, Picking Daisies on Sundays. 33, The Encore. 32, The Jessed Crown. And 31, Starshipped. Some of those are respectable reads on their own. Some of those were like 3 to 3.5 stars, so not bad. Okay, number 20 to 30. In 30th place, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. 29, Dungeon number 3. 28, Heart of Betrayal, 27, Beauty of Darkness, 26, Dungeon 5, 25, The Kingdom of Back, 24, The Arcane Arts, 23, The Tempest, 22, Our Perfect Storm, 21, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, and 20, To Dream in Darkness by Anne Liang. Okay, great. We'll do 11 to 19 in this next chunk, okay? In 19th place, Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It, 18, Heart the Lover, 17, One and Only, 16, Mark of the Warrior, 15, Yesteryear, 14, No Matter What, 13, Clockwork Princess, 12, Good Joy, Bad Joy, and 11th, Sixth Faction. Almost made it into the top 10. But now that we're in our top 10, are you ready for 10th place? Give me a drum roll, please. We have Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Okay, you know what? Glad that ended up in the top 10 because this series has been such a journey. It's been so long and I love where we ended on Wind and Truth. It didn't give me as much of like an act 1 conclusion as I wanted, but very strong read in terms of, yeah, the mental health and how deep our characters' mental journeys felt. Number 9, The Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon. Such a surprise to me because books 2 to 4 have not been ranking very well with me, but book 5, Chef's Kiss, Almost Perfection. Loved it so much. Number 8, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Yeah, book that made me think so deeply. Again, if you want my spoiler thoughts on Dark Matter, we will be doing a live stream book club discussion full of spoilers over on Patreon. Obviously, I know it's paid and that's not in everyone's budget, so no pressure, but it's there if you want it. In 7th place, The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. I'm so happy this book lived up because I've been waiting for this sequel for years, like so long, and Sarah A. Parker kept pushing it back because she needed more time to write it, and honestly, you can tell. Like, I'm so glad she kept pushing the date back, even though it was painful as the reader to be like, when am I gonna get the sequel? It, like, at the end of the day, I think paid off that she took her time with this one. It was so well thought out. In 6th place, The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. Such a creative take on corporate samurai set in space with an older protagonist who's on the brink of retirement and not at her prime anymore. Loved it. In number 5, debut author makes 5th place, Evann Normandin with The Good Parts. I mean, you know, a memory story is going to get me every single time. I love deep dives into memory. It breaks my brain. It makes me hurt, but I love it so much. In 4th place, Into the Blue by Emma Brody. Yeah, this hurt me. I took this book personally. I did. In 3rd place, The Young Remember by Eve J. Chung, another author that is new to me. This was my first book that I read from her. Really surprised me with how deep the human connections felt in this tumultuous time of war. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. In number 2, kind of feels like a cheat because it was a reread, but Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I cannot wait for Victorious, you guys. So excited for September to roll around. We have so many anticipated releases and like 3rd and final installments of series that are coming out in September and October. It's gonna be a wild time for readers. And in number 1, first place for this quarter. Give me another drum roll. Let's do another drum roll. The Burning Side by Sarah Damoff. Yeah, I love Sarah Damoff. The way she writes emotions, the way she writes in small little details that come back to haunt you in these books, so good. She's another author that just makes me feel so deeply for humans, and I love that about her. And I do think that The Burning Side was a step up from The Bright Years. Like, The Bright Years was an incredible debut, but you can see, like, for me, I can tell how she refined her writing in The Burning Side, really honed in, got deeper into these characters, gave us more time with them, and everyone felt even more complex and even more layered than the characters did in The Bright Years, which is impressive because the characters in The Bright Years already felt so deeply complex. Such a well-deserved number 1. Now, that being said, there are my 41 books read in this quarter ranked from worst to best. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know, I guess in general, how these past few reading months have gone for you, and also how many books have you read so far this year. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!